On June 16, 1990, 52-year-old Trevaline Evans left her antique shop in Wales, putting a note on the door that said, "Back in 2 minutes." She never returned. 35 years later, Trevaline is still missing. Trevaline Evans was born Trevaline Davies on September 6, 1937, and had lived in the small town of Llangollen, Wales, all her life. As a family, the Evans were very close. Trevaline was a wife, a mother and a grandmother who was married to her husband Richard, a retired maintenance engineer. The couple had one son, a police sergeant also called Richard, and a grandson, who was just under a year old at the time. She bought attic antiques just a year before she went missing and was extremely proud of it. According to her brother, she was an independent businesswoman who would also buy and sell properties. She had collected antiques for some time as a hobby, so to have her own shop was a dream come true. Trevaline and husband Richard had also recently bought a new bungalow in the Welsh town of Rhuddlan, around an hour away from their home in Llangollen. So, in June 1990, the couple were spending much of their time renovating it together. When Trevaline disappeared, though, Richard was alone in Rhuddlan, continuing the renovations. Despite being in Rhuddlan the weekend prior, Trevaline returned home alone on Wednesday the 13th, 3 days before her disappearance, to continue running her shop. The day started out like any other. It was a warm Saturday, one of many in a year which saw record-breaking high temperatures across the UK. Trevaline opened up Antique Attics at 9:30, as she usually did, having made the 2-minute drive from her home on Church Street and parking 30 yards from the door. Shortly after opening up her shop, Trevaline then popped a few doors down to a general store to pick up a bottle of milk for her morning coffee. This was around 10 a.m. Doreen, the owner of the store, recalled that Trevaline had a substantial amount of money in her purse, which she referred to as a wad of notes. Soon after this, Trevaline's friend dropped by the antique store and they had a coffee and a chat. They discussed a party that they were both invited to, which her friend Christine said that she was very excited for.
I even popped back to the shop to remind her that we were invited to a party, and she was thrilled to be going, you know, and really wanted to go. There is no way she would have gone missing, that she would have gone away voluntarily. No way.
After spending her usual morning in the shop, Trevaline was then seen by a witness leaving her shop at around 12:40 p.m. 20 minutes later, around 1 p.m., Trevaline was seen buying an orange and a banana on Castle Street. After this, police believe that she may have returned to the shop as they found a banana peel. However, they could never ascertain whether the peel was from that day or a previous day. The final confirmed sighting of Trevaline was over 2 hours later at 2:30 p.m. when a witness recalled seeing her near her home at 38 Market Street, which was a 7-minute walk from her shop. Further to this, police responded to a few more unconfirmed sightings of Trevaline. One member of the public reported that a woman matching her description was seen walking out of town along the A5 towards Corwin beside the Riverside Park at approximately 2:35 p.m. Another member of the public reported seeing someone believed to be Trevaline walking into Park Avenue from the direction of the River Dee at around 3:45 p.m. There was also another reported sighting of her in the passenger seat of a car leaving town. The witness who believed they saw Trevaline described her as appearing upset. However, None of these sightings were able to be verified by police and remain unconfirmed. So, the last known sighting of her remains the one at 2:30 p.m. by her home. After that, Trevaline isn't spotted again. Throughout the afternoon, customers attempted to visit the shop but found the door still locked and the note still there on the door. In the days that followed, police continued to investigate seriously in a race against time to find Trevaline. The search for Trevaline Evans quickly became one of the biggest investigations of its kind, with over 330 statements taken, 1,500 names checked, and 685 cars logged and subsequently eliminated. As time passed, more than 100 officers got involved, conducting door-to-door interviews, visiting every house in Llangollen, and speaking to over 1,500 tourists within a 12-mile radius of the small town. Posters were also put up throughout the town with her picture and information on her last movements. Divers scoured the River Dee, which was less than 100 feet from Trevaline's shop, and officers searched the canal, mine shafts, and caves in the area. The week following her disappearance, there were several public search parties with over 100 people joining in to look for Trevaline. It was clear that Trevaline was a well-regarded member of the community, and everyone was eager to find her. Despite these efforts by the police, community and her family, weeks went by with no sign of Trevaline. Then, months. On September 6th, Trevaline's birthday, BBC's Crime Watch aired an episode that featured her disappearance in the hopes of bringing more eyes to the case. The show, which first aired in 1984, featured unsolved cases, often using reconstructions in a bid to jog viewers' memories, and it did so with Trevaline's case.
This month's final reconstruction is a story of a woman's disappearance, but it's a case police now treat as murder. Trevaline Evans would be 53, indeed today's her birthday. But back in June, on a sunny afternoon, something extraordinary must have happened to her.
Trevaline's son and husband appeared in the episode, with her son describing his mother as a woman who was very close to her family and had everything to live for. He confidently told viewers that there was no way that his mother would have just disappeared without telling anyone. Likewise, her husband said that Trevaline was very happy prior to her disappearance.
And I think wherever she is, it's involuntary, it's against her will. So that's our main feelings, and that's why we're so worried.
Before she disappeared, she spent 3 days up in Rutherland in our holiday bungalow, which I was doing up or refurbishing, and she was very happy. You know, she liked working up there. She liked the garden.
The episode also adds more details that police have discovered regarding some men that Trevaline was seen with in the days prior to her disappearance. At around 9:15 a.m. on June 14th, 2 days before she disappeared, Trevaline was seen outside her shop in conversation with 2 men about selling some antiques. The next day, on June 15th, another man was seen walking in town. He was described by 2 people who worked in separate local shops as smartly dressed and distinguished. He was wearing a navy suit and had a briefcase. An artist's impression of this man, based on witness accounts, was featured on the show. Later that evening, Trevaline was seen in the doorway of a cafe on Castle Street by a couple known to Trevaline, who were stopped at a traffic light in their car next to her. They recall her frequently stepping out of the doorway and looking around as if she was waiting for somebody.
Stepping in and out with a piece of paper in her hand, looking down the street as if she was expecting someone to come up. But when I turned round, there was no sign of anybody. I kept looking at Trevaline, waiting to acknowledge her, but she didn't seem to see me at all.
The segment ends with a discussion with Detective Superintendent John Cook.
Let's start eliminating some of the people we saw in that reconstruction. On the Thursday, that's the 14th of June, there were 2 people outside her shop, probably quite innocent, nothing to do with this. Tell us what we know about them.
Yes, very briefly. The first man, as you know, came from the tannery. He's the younger man, about 30 years of age. modern dress, wearing a dark suit with the sleeves rolled up, dark hair which appeared gelled. The older man was about 65 years of age, had grey hair, casually dressed, an aquamarine jumper with a paisley tie, and he was in conversation with Mrs. Evans.
OK, now the next day, that's Friday the 15th of June, isn't it? There was another man seen with her. It might have been actually one of the guys from the day before, we just don't know. But you've got quite a good description of this chap.
Yes, we have. It's possibly the previous man. Now, he's described as being very smartly dressed in a dark suit or a dark blazer, brown hair going grey, about 5'10", stockily built, and he was carrying a briefcase in his left hand.
A bank manager like, or an insurance salesman. I think somebody's put him, possibly an antiques dealer. And I gather you've got new evidence about this man today.
Yes, we have. Fresh evidence now suggests that the same man may well have been in Gale's Wine Bar in Castle Street, Llangollen, later that same evening.
The episode led to 30 calls to the dedicated hotline, and in October the show mentioned Trevaline again, reporting 2 specific call-ins. One where Trevaline was seen having an intense conversation with a grey-haired man in her shop the day she went missing, and another where a call from Scotland detailed seeing Trevaline in a wine bar, also with a grey-haired man. Though police investigated these leads, it appeared fruitless. Though their subsequent public appeals were frequently in the news over the next week or two, with all of them focused on identifying the mysterious men spotted with Trevaline. That same month, husband Richard put forward a reward. Unfortunately, this didn't result in any new information, and by the end of the year, her family was losing hope of finding her alive. As time went on, the case remained open, yet scaled back, as most unsolved cases do. Despite this, development still happened as police attempted to make progress. For the 1-year anniversary of her disappearance, police decided to recirculate posters and reopen her shop, which had remained closed since her disappearance. In doing this, they were hoping to appeal to holiday goers that were travelling from around the country to visit Llangollen as they do every year in the summer months. They hoped that some of those may have visited the year prior, around the time Trevaline went missing, and seeing the shop and posting made jog their memories. It appears that this didn't reap the results that police hoped, and no further action was taken until the next year, 1992. In March 1992, police visited Newport in South Wales, some 120 miles from Llangollen. People had come forward to say that they may know the identity of somebody potentially involved in Trevaline's disappearance. But just days later, police had already told the public that this had led nowhere. That same year, Trevaline's husband upped the reward money. He offered £5,000 for any information about Trevaline's disappearance, which is almost £10,000 in today's money. Then, in July of the same year, police revealed that there had been alleged sightings much further afield. Sightings from Australia and France were reported to North Wales Police, which detectives were extremely doubtful of but still committed to investigating. Due to the nature of these sightings, police recruited the assistance of Interpol, the world's largest international police organization that often assists with international police enquiries. The sighting from Australia was reported by holidaymakers who were convinced that they saw Trevaline in a small town just outside Sydney. The couple were from Rhyl, but believed they spotted the missing woman on a trip to the New South Wales area of Australia. Months passed again before police confirmed in October 1992 that the woman they spotted was not Trevaline. By this time, it was clear that police were desperate for new leads. Detective Chief Inspector Colin Edwards, who was leading the investigation, said, "It is without doubt the strangest inquiry I have ever been involved with." Aside from the international investigations, they also agreed to search a spot in World's End after a spiritualist medium told police that she felt that Trevaline was there. Perhaps unsurprisingly, this search turned up fruitless. Another similar search took place the following year, when a psychic told police she felt overwhelmed by a feeling that Trevaline was nearby on a canal bank. Police investigated this tip, taking police dogs to do a full search. They found nothing. For the rest of the decade, police updates to the press and public were practically non-existent, with simply no extra information coming in from the public. By the millennium, the case was apparently closed. As if things couldn't get any worse for the Evans family, the end of the decade brought with it some tragic news. In January 1999, Trevaline and Richard's only son, Police Sergeant Richard Evans, suddenly died of a heart attack. He left behind his father, his wife, Anwen, and his two young sons, Hugh and Owen, the latter of which was born in the years after Trevaline's disappearance. He was just 37 years old. Despite the lack of movement in the case, on January 8, 2001, investigators decided to reopen Trevaline's case. This time, it was a murder inquiry. Police hoped that new techniques and technologies that had developed since the initial investigation may help to finally solve the case. A special incident room with 10 detectives is set up especially for Trevaline's case, and police make a renewed public appeal for any information on the missing 52-year-old. In April, they announced that they no longer believed that the drawing provided over a decade ago of a suspicious man seen with Trevaline was accurate. The decision was welcomed by Trevaline's family, particularly her brother Len. Then, on June 29th of the same year, Trevaline's husband was arrested in connection to her disappearance. The 72-year-old was taken to Wrexham police station for questioning that morning and was released on police bail later in the evening, and he was never charged. In 2005, British television network ITV aired an episode of their show Crime Secrets, which featured Trevaline's case. Brother Len appeared on the show, giving an interview in his home. He said that, once the initial 24 hours was over, I started to believe that something had happened to her, that she'd been abducted and actually murdered. He also theorized that whoever it was had access to the shop, his own private access to the shop, so that could indicate that someone had a key. June 2010 marked 20 years since Trevaline Evans had gone missing. Around the 20th anniversary, though her husband Richard declined to comment personally, Trevaline's family called for police to reopen the case once more. Superintendent Steve Gould of North Wales Police said, "Investigations such as these are never closed." Trevaline's brother, Len, said that he hoped that he understood that over the last decade the police had done all they could, but he wanted them to get involved with the case once more. He told the press, "I cannot say you ever come to terms with it, you accept it. People you speak to have different ideas about what happened with her. Some say she might have just gone off, but I don't believe that at all. I have no idea what happened, but my opinion is that she has been abducted." Then, 4 years later, on 27th December 2014, Trevaline's husband, Richard, sadly passed away at Wrexham Hospital, aged 83. Like his son, Richard died never finding out what happened to Trevaline. Over the following decade, Trevaline's case would pop up in the news quite frequently, with police exploring several new possibilities and leads. As the 25th anniversary of Trevaline's disappearance approached, Clwyd South politician Ken Skates made a call for her case to be revisited on Crime Watch. At the time, his constituency office was in Llangollen, and he wrote to both Chief Constable Mark Polan of North Wales Police and Crime Watch TV producers to request Trevaline's case be re-examined once again. A now 71-year-old Len supported his cause, now telling the press that he believed his sister to be dead, but that he would still like closure. Things went quiet for a few more years until 2019, when things took a turn for the bizarre. In February 2019, Welsh brothers Andy and Lee Sutton reported to police that they have heard of circumstantial evidence which points to where Trevaline's body is. The Suttons claim that they heard information that locates Trevaline's body underneath the bar area of Rudland Golf Club, the same town that Trevaline and Richard had their holiday cottage. The brothers passed this information on to the police before approaching the golf club themselves and asking for permission to take a look. The club agrees, and the Suttons use what they call an underfloor inspection camera. This, they say, revealed human remains. On March 19th, North Wales Police carried out their own search of the course. According to a member of the public who witnessed the police presence at the club, they were using infrared on the bar area. Despite the brothers' claims, police would come out of the golf club empty-handed, saying that there was no evidence that Trevaline Evans' body was, or ever had been, on the premises. The Suttons, though, weren't happy with this response from the police and were convinced that Trevaline's body had either been missed by police in their search or had been removed before the police had a chance to find her in the weeks between their reporting of their findings and their search. In May of the same year, they would lodge a formal complaint against North Wales Police and their handling of the case, particularly the search of Rudland Golf Club. They claimed that they had high-quality evidence that Trevaline was there. North Wales Police referred the matter to the Independent Office for Police Conduct, IOPC, and the brothers would also ask the IOPC to conduct an independent forensic examination. The IOPC then referred the matter back to NWP, saying that it should be resolved internally. After the decision, Andy said, "I'm not a fan of the police investigating the police."
I think first and foremost it's crying out for a fully independent inquiry. I'm not a fan of the police investigating the police and the way it currently stands, although I've got no particular axe to grind with the Professional Standards Department of North Wales Police. At the end of the day, it is North Wales Police investigating North Wales Police. I think this case is so serious that it should really be investigated by a truly independent body, maybe the IOPC or even somebody else who's qualified to carry out such an investigation.
In December of the same year, he addressed a Rudland Town Council meeting, asking if any members had heard of any progress on the investigation of the golf club. He was told that the question should be raised with the police or the golf club. He replied that he had put in multiple complaints about the police handling of the matter. Andy, a former chief auditor for Flintshire Council, had also previously had issues with his former employer and had become a whistleblower for a number of things, including corruption. He subsequently won a legal case revolving around his treatment as a whistleblower and his allegations of constructive dismissal. Sutton's allegations weren't the first or last of such allegations against Flintshire Council. Although this was the last the public heard about the police's investigation of the golf club, it wouldn't be the last time it would be spoken about amongst the locals, nor the last time Trevaline's name would appear in the news. Since the involvement of the Sutton brothers and the supposed discovery of the location of Trevaline's body, there have been a few more mysterious events that have taken place. In January 2021, local press reported that a plaque had appeared on a bench located around 30 miles away from Llangollen. The plaque, found on the bench in Disappearance, stated, "In memory of Trevaline Evans, vanished 16/6/1990, found Rudland GC 14/3/2019, removed 19/3/2019 RIP." The GC presumably standing for Golf Club. Within a few weeks it was defaced, with the inscription being scratched out and quickly removed by the council. The Sutton brothers were contacted by the local press, and both of them denied having anything to do with the plaque's appearance. Lee said, "I don't know who would do it and why they would put it there." He also said that he was told around Christmas that a group of people held an all-night vigil alongside the bench. Then, in April 2022, another plaque appeared. It was at a different location, but still nearby. This time it was on a bench at a local landmark. The bench was part of Pantoi Facwen, a 200-year-old miner's cottage that was located on a hillside just off a footpath called the Afar Dykes Trail. This time the plaque read, "Justice awaits those responsible for the removal and disposal of Trevaline Evans, in this life or next," from Llangollen Golf Club on March 19, 2019 at noon. May the Lord have mercy upon their soul. Once again, the Sutton brothers denied any involvement, with Lee saying, "It could be someone with a guilty conscience responsible for the plaque. The details on it are quite correct." Andrew added, "Clearly someone is uncomfortable with what happened." The brothers also revealed that they had been subject to some concerning behavior since they went public with their findings, with Andrew saying that a window in his house had been smashed and Lee saying that he had received threatening phone calls. In 2023, an episode of a popular Channel 4 TV show, In the Footsteps of Killers, covered Trevaline's case. New information came from this show, though much of it was speculation, such as rumors at the time that the Evans marriage wasn't as happy as first thought, and claims that Trevaline had inherited beep 10,000 from a lover. None of this could truly be verified. Perhaps the most attention-grabbing detail was information on the smartly dressed man seen with Trevaline before her disappearance. The documentary crew were contacted by a woman called Linda, who was the ex-girlfriend of Phil, Trevaline's brother. In the documentary, she claimed that this man seen with Trevaline on the morning she went missing was Phil. Although it seems unusual that this information was never discovered in the initial investigation, the documentary crew appeared happy to believe her. Despite this new, high-profile reporting on the case, it appears that no new leads came from the show. Trevaline's disappearance is one that has truly stumped police for the last 35 years. There have been a few tenuous theories and links that have been investigated, including the involvement of known murderers. In 2011, police announced that they were looking into a possible connection to convicted serial killer Robin Liggis. Liggis had been convicted in 1996 of killing 75-year-old Robert Young during a burglary at his home. Attention was brought to him once more when he was convicted again in 2011, this time of the murders of Trevor Bradley in April 1994 and Brian Coles in October 1994. This seemed to pique police's interest due to one of the victims, Trevor Bradley, being an antiques dealer like Trevaline. Len, now Trevaline's only living sibling, welcomed the new interest, saying the possibility of a link may only be a slim one, but anything that sheds new light on the case has to be looked at. Despite this, Liggis was ruled out by police in January 2012, much to the disappointment of Len. In 2021, reports came that police were investigating a possible link between Trevaline's disappearance and Christopher Halliwell. Halliwell was sentenced to a whole life tariff in 2016 for the murders of Becky Godden in 2003 and Sian O'Callaghan in 2011. Halliwell was a taxi driver from Swindon, a town in southwest England around 130 miles from Llangollen. Though he was convicted of 2 murders, many people, including police, believe he could possibly be responsible for many more. He was also a prolific burglar. In the mid-80s, Halliwell served time in prison for burglary and stealing antiques, which could create a link between him and Trevaline. The episode of In the Footsteps of Killers also mentioned Halliwell, with a local man stating that he saw a strange man acting suspiciously at the time, and that he bore a resemblance to Halliwell. The man that the witness talks about was apparently working in the area fitting windows at the time. Ultimately, the disappearance of Trevaline Evans is still a mystery. Police and family seem to have always been in agreement that Trevaline never would have disappeared voluntarily. She had a nice home, a business, and a family that she cared greatly for. There were family events that she was never around for, like the birth of another grandchild, and the deaths of her son and husband. Loved ones say she wouldn't have missed these for the world. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Trevaline Evans, please contact UK Crime Stoppers at 0800 555 111. Alternatively, you can use the anonymous tip form on their website or contact North Wales Police at the non-emergency police line using 101. Thanks for listening to Trevaline's story. If you'd like to support the channel and hear about more unsolved missing persons cases, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a new story.